All right, Shalom, more praise to you. How about you, man? Shout out to Blind City Pastor GMS. This is I'm Allah commenting in the video. In this video, I'm going to focus on the book of 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 14. But this is an epistle to Timothy by the Apostle Paul. So basically what the Apostle Paul is telling Timothy is, don't neglect the gift that's within you. So let's get right into that. 1 Timothy 4 and 14. So the Apostle Paul says, neglect not the gift that is in thee. What gift? The spiritual gift that the Most High has given him. The wisdom, knowledge, understanding of the scriptures, the mystery of the Gentiles. Don't neglect that gift, which was given thee by prophecy. In other words, it was ordained or appointed by the Most High that Timothy would be a part of his ministry. But the laying on of the hands of the presbytery, meaning laying on of the hands of the elder. So presbytery is an elder. So back then, they would actually physically lay their hands upon someone. Physically put their hands upon someone, which symbolized an authority or a duty was being given unto them. It's like if a father puts his hands on a son's shoulder and say, "You the man in the house now." That's implying that he's laying his hands on him. So that implies that authority or duty, responsibility is being placed upon him. Okay? But he told him, don't neglect the gift that's within thee. Right? Remember that. Next verse. 2 Timothy 1 and 6. You know what? Let's start from verse 5. When I call to remembrance the unfeigned faith. So his faith was sincere. The unfeigned faith that is in thee, which dwelt first in thy grandmother Lois and thy mother Eunice, and I am persuaded that in thee also. So he's saying your grandmother had faith, your mother had faith, and I'm persuaded that it's also within you. Wherefore I put thee in remembrance that thou stir up the gift of the Most High. And that's that right there. First he told him in 1 Timothy, neglect not the gift. Now 2 Timothy, he's going to bring him. He's saying your grandmother had faith, your mother had faith, and I'm persuaded also in you. And then he's saying, wherefore I put thee in remembrance that thou stir up the gift of the Most High. So why would he tell him not to neglect the gift and then also say putting him in remembrance? Because Timothy had to have what? Been a little weak in the faith at the time. He may have had a little bit of doubt. Not doubt like he didn't believe, but a little fearful of having to go out and actually teach these people. Why else would the Apostle Paul say neglect not the faith that is in, not the gift that's within thee? Why else would he say he wants to put him in remembrance that thou stir up the gift of the Most High? That's why he says, when I call to remembrance the unfailing faith that is in thee. So he's acknowledging that there's faith in him. And now he's saying, I'm putting you in remembrance that you stir up. Wherefore I put thee in remembrance that thou stir up the gift of the Most High. So he knows he has faith in him. So he's saying, I want to put you in remembrance that you stir up the gift of the Most High. Let's get the word stir up.
Strong's G 329. Anadzopureo.
Anadzopureo. To kindle up and flame one's mind, strengthen zeal. To kindle a flesh. Denotes to kindle afresh or keep in full flame. Anna up or again, Zeus alive, purifier. And is used metaphorically in 2 Timothy 1 and 6, where the gift of the Most High is regarded as a fire capable of dying out through neglect. The verb was common in use in the vernacular of the time. So when he's saying he wanted to stir up that gift of the Most High, because he's comparing the gift of the Most High as what? As a fire that can die out through neglect. See? That's why I said I'm going to call to remembrance the faith that's within you. And I want to put you in remembrance to stir up the gift of the Most High. Okay? Because why? The gift of the Most High is truth. It's like a fire. The word is a fire. And it's capable of dying out if you neglect it. Alright? Wherefore I put thee in remembrance that thou stir up the gift of the Most High, which is in thee by the putting on of my hands. That goes back to what we read in 1 Timothy the 4th chapter, laying on the hands of the presbytery. For the Most High have not given us a spirit of fear. Why would he say that? Because Timothy had to have had some sort of fear, or just he felt a little fearful having to do this. But if I put thee in remembrance, verse 17, for the Most High have not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Be not thou therefore ashamed of the testimony of our Lord, nor of me as prisoner. See? Be not thou ashamed of the testimony of our Lord, nor of me as prisoner, but be thou partaker of the afflictions of the gospel according to the power of the Most High. You know what? This is a good chapter right here. So he's telling Timothy, listen, man, look, the Most High didn't give us the spirit of fear. He gave us power, love, and of a sound mind. So don't worry. Don't be ashamed of the testimony of the Most High, nor of me as prisoner. You gotta be thou partaker of the afflictions. They're telling him to partake in the afflictions. See, so it's clear the spirit that Timothy was in at the time. Okay? But be thou partaker of the afflictions of the gospel according to the power of the Most High. Let's go on. Verse 1 Peter 2:2. As newborn babes desire, right to the point, as newborn babes desire the sincere the milk, that you may grow thereby. So how do we fan this flame, which is this word, to get to the Most High? You know the flame is likened unto the word. You know the word is also likened unto milk. Like in Hebrews the 5th chapter. Alright? Don't the scripture say, is not my word like a fire? Jeremiah 23:29, is not my word like as a fire, saith the Lord, and like a hammer that breaketh the rock in pieces? See that? And we already see here, it says, as newborn babes desire the sincere milk of the word. A baby desires the milk of his mother, whether it's a human being or an animal, depending upon what creature it is, of course. They need the milk of their mother to sustain them. So he's saying, as newborn babes desire the sincere milk of the word, that you may grow thereby. So the word is likened unto milk, the word is likened unto fire, and we grow by the word. So we gotta take heed to what's being taught. That's how you grow. That's how you fan that flame. That's how you make sure that flame doesn't die out. Because that's what Timothy had to do. He had to what? Focus on the truth. Focus on the scriptures. Focus on all the afflictions that we had to endure. Which will what? Increase his faith. Alright? And cause him to grow. That will keep the fire kindled. Romans 12:11. Not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. That's what we gotta be. Fervent in spirit.
Strong's G 2204. Zeo.
Zeo. Fervent. To boil with heat, be hot. There you go. Use the water metaphorically. Use the boiling anger, love, zeal for what is good or bad. Fervent in spirit instead of zeal for what is good. And look at the word zeal. Zeal is a noun that means great energy, enthusiasm, or passion in pursuit of a cause or goal. So that's what we gotta have. Right? That's good. I didn't want to get that one. That's basically the point on that. No, right here. 1 Timothy 4:7. In fact, you know what? 1 Timothy 5:18. Quench not the spirit.
Strong's G 4570. Sbenemy.
Sbenemy. To extinguish, quench, or a fire of things on fire. To be quenched, to go out. Metaphorically, to quench, to suppress, stifle of divine influence. So we're not supposed to quench the spirit. To quench is using the passive voice of the going out of the light of a torch or lamp. So he's telling, listen, don't quench the spirit. In other words, keep it burning. That's what you got to do. Keep this thing going on fire. I think the Apostle Paul saying what he's saying. And right here, 1 Corinthians 4:7. For who maketh thee to different from another? And what hast thou that thou didst not receive? Now if thou didst receive it, why doest thou glory as if thou hast not received it? In other words, everything that we have was given unto us. That's why the Apostle Paul said, neglect not the gift that's within you. It's a gift. Remember the scripture tell you in Ephesians, was that the 2nd chapter? Faith is a gift at Most High. That Ephesians 2:8, 2:7. It's a gift. It's true, it's a gift. So we can't neglect it. Because it was a gift that was given to us that we received by Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah. So we got to continue to fire burn. And stay in these scriptures, man. Do what we got to do. Teach, do shows. Constantly, think about this word. It's our duty. So with that, I'm going to close and say praise to Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah. Double on, see, Pastor GMS. All the brothers, Shalom.